1, 2, 3.
This is the exact moment when trust in our air safety systems is tested to the extreme. Watch as this Southwest Airlines pilot performs a sobriety test, literally on the jet bridge, with passengers waiting inside the aircraft. The situation is as surreal as it is terrifying. Imagine sitting on the plane, ready to take off, unaware that the man responsible for your lives is being tested to see if he is sober. The officer's body language demonstrates absolute professionalism as he conducts the standardized tests. But observe the tension in the air. This is Captain David Alsop, with a 19-year career, about to see everything crumble in a matter of minutes. What makes this case even more shocking is that TSA agents reported detecting the odor of alcohol on his breath during the security inspection.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
You doing okay?
Yeah, fine.
When was the last time you had something to drink?
Last.
Now we'll see the beginning of this police approach that would change this pilot's life forever. Note how the conversation starts in a seemingly casual way, but the officers are already following specific protocols for cases of suspected intoxication in airport environments. The question, when was the last time you had a drink, may seem simple, but it is strategically formulated to establish a crucial timeline. Observe how the pilot initially tries to minimize his consumption, talking about a few beers the night before. This is a critical moment where every word will be documented and potentially used as evidence. The initial refusal to take the sobriety test is a legal right, but in commercial aviation contexts, this refusal has much more serious consequences than in common traffic situations.
Okay, so do you have any health issues or anything? I'm sorry, you're a pilot, so you can't have any crazy health issues or any problems or anything.
The final test, balancing on one leg. This moment is particularly distressing because it reveals the deterioration of the basic motor functions of someone who should be controlling an 80-ton machine at 35,000 feet. Watch as the pilot struggles to maintain his balance, counting out loud as instructed. Every second that passes is more evidence of his impaired condition. This specific test not only evaluates physical balance, but also the ability to process multiple instructions simultaneously. A fundamental skill for pilots who need to manage dozens of systems during flight. The officer's expression during the test reveals that he already knows what the result will be, but he must complete the protocol to ensure the legal validity of the detention.
Step down on this little platform. Alright, so this next test is called...
This is the moment of truth, when the police supervisor presents the results and the legal consequences become clear. Observe how the pilot reacts with absolute disbelief upon hearing that he failed the tests. How did I fail? I did everything. These words perfectly capture the disconnect between an intoxicated person's self-perception and the reality observed by others. The mention of the odor of alcohol emanating from his person is particularly worrying when we consider that this man would have been in a closed cockpit for hours with other crew members. The supervisor demonstrates technical knowledge by explaining the specific indicators of impairment, showing how these professionals are trained to recognize subtle signs that might go unnoticed.
Would you agree to a blood draw to test your blood alcohol content? No. Okay, well the issue is when you agreed to the field sobriety you exhibit.
We now move to Minneapolis, where we witness an even more audacious attempt to bypass airport security. Gabriel Schroeder, a 37-year-old Delta pilot, shows us how guilt and desperation can lead someone to increasingly suspicious behaviors. Observe in the surveillance footage how he abruptly abandons the inspection line when asked for a random baggage check. This moment is crucial because it reveals how seemingly routine security protocols can detect suspicious activity. The decision to leave the inspection area to use the bathroom would be the first in a series of errors that would culminate in his arrest. This case perfectly illustrates how modern surveillance systems and well-trained personnel work together to protect civil aviation. Now we see the interrogation moment where the lies begin to fall apart. Schroeder initially told officers he hadn't had a drink in 3 days, but under pressure, he admits to having consumed 4 drinks the night before. This change in version is typical in intoxication cases. First complete denial, then minimization, and finally partial admission of the truth. Observe how the investigator uses non-confrontational interrogation techniques, allowing the suspect to contradict himself naturally. The discovery of the vodka bottle in the bathroom trash completely changes the nature of the case. elevating it from suspicion of intoxication to a deliberate attempt to conceal evidence. This moment shows how small, impulsive decisions can turn a professional problem into a criminal case. The surveillance images allow us to follow Schroeder's every suspicious move through the airport. See how security cameras capture his journey from the moment he leaves the checkpoint to his entry into the bathroom for just 30 seconds. This precise timeline is crucial for establishing the sequence of events and proving the deliberate intent to discard evidence. The fact that he returned to the checkpoint claiming he needed to retrieve his iPad from the pilot's lounge shows a calculated attempt to create a plausible explanation for his absence. This case demonstrates how modern airports are essentially surveillance fortresses, where every movement is monitored and can be reconstructed later. The cooperation between the TSA, airport security, and local police is evident in this case.
This morning, watch as this Delta pilot, accused of being intoxicated, makes it through initial security as he's getting ready to fly from Minneapolis to San Diego.
We arrive at the most humiliating moment: the arrest itself. Observe how the officer maintains a respectful tone, even while applying the handcuffs, recognizing that he is dealing with a professional who simply made terrible decisions. The reading of the Miranda rights in this context has an additional weight because this is not a common criminal, but someone in whom society has placed extraordinary trust. The specific mention of Georgia's implied consent laws shows how DUI cases involving pilots are treated with the same seriousness as highway cases, but with much more devastating professional consequences. This moment marks not only this final segment offers us crucial perspective on the systemic pressures that lead some pilots to alcohol. The commercial pilot profession, often idealized by the public, involves immense stress, irregular hours, and constant pressure for perfect performance. The comment on how some pilots succumb to alcoholism and depression, but hesitate to seek help for fear of harming their careers, exposes a structural problem in the industry. The comparison with the United pilot who had a meltdown at Denver airport illustrates how different people deal with pressure in different ways. Captain Alsop lost not only his job, but his pilot's license, effectively ending a career that took decades to build. Struggling with very real problems, we return to Savannah Airport to see how TSA agents became the true heroes of this story. The moment they detected the odor of alcohol during a routine inspection demonstrates the importance of constant training and active vigilance. These professionals, often criticized for their strict procedures, proved in this case that their protocols exist for good reasons. The decision to immediately report their suspicions to airport police initiated a chain of events that potentially saved 130 lives, the number of passengers who would have been on board the flight to Chicago. This case perfectly illustrates how multiple layers of security in commercial aviation work. When one fails, others can compensate. The speed of the response shows a well-coordinated system where safety always trumps convenience. We conclude with the legal consequences that await pilots who violate public trust in this way. Gabriel Schroeder received a sentence that included prison, home detention, and continuous FAA supervision. But the real consequences go far beyond the legal system. His aviation career ended permanently, and he joins a growing list of professionals who have lost everything due to alcohol-related decisions. The mention of statistics, approximately 1 pilot is arrested per month in the United States for DUI, reveals that this is not an isolated problem, but a systemic issue that the industry continues to face. These cases serve as a grim warning to other aviation professionals and demonstrate that, regardless of the prestige of the profession, justice will be applied when public safety is at risk. For every case we see, we must remember the hundreds of lives that were spared by the vigilance and swift action of airport authorities.